So there's been some questions on the new Kickstarter page for the new Edge of Darkness expansion about whether there would be a new box to fit the new expansion in because people's boxes are full. Mine is very stuffed myself, but I have managed to fit it in a way that I think is relatively well organized. And I said as much and people were curious as to what that looked like. So I want to go through how I have it organized. Personally, I'm running out of shelf space more than anything, so I sort of dread the idea of a larger box, but it is a really tight fit. It's only going to get tighter with the expansion, but I do think it'll be relatively well organized. And I'll mention one thing I think they could add that would make it even better. So I'm just going to walk through unpacking the box and then packing the box, because it's a pretty precarious setup I have. Now, one thing I'll mention actually before I unbox anymore is that you definitely can put this box together in such a way that there is more space, but I tried to cut a balance between well organized and everything actually fits in. Prioritizing, obviously I want everything to fit in with such that the box top goes completely down. And my second priority was then, okay, well, with the extra space, how can I use that space to best organize the components? So I've tried many, many different ways. And the top is probably the most complicated thing. If you want the box top to close absolutely tight, then this is a helpful little thing to do, which is I put this board on top. Then I put all 4 player boards here. Now, usually, when the box came, it had a very different organization, but you'll see why I have to do things like this when I get lower down into the box. So this is here. The reason is because I have all the rule books facing this way. You'll notice the binding of the rule books is a lot thicker actually than the rest of the rule books. So you end up with this depression here. You can't see it from this angle because I don't have a nice setup for the camera. Otherwise I'd swivel it to help show you. But if you try it yourself, you'll notice that this ends up being way more depressed. So I put these here to take up the extra space. Then I have large rule books, which are all the rule books that are essentially square. So base game, voiceless guilds, all that stuff. Below that, I have the expansion rulebooks with the binding facing the same direction, and I'll have to obviously add one more expansion rulebook here when the expansion comes. This is actually just some components update about the, can't remember the actual name of this mini expansion, but this came with, this comes with Cliffs of Cold Harbor and gives asymmetric setups. So I have that here on top of these 2 boards. These are like this because if you put them like this, then they don't actually fit in well with the main board. You'll notice these don't fit side by side. This is too long. But if I put it like this, then the only part that overlaps, this is actually depressed. So the only part of the boards that overlap doesn't take up any more vertical space. So those boards are all the way over there. Take those out. Okay, so here's where things get a little wacky. This used to be in the middle. Now, I actually had my box organized very differently a little bit, maybe like even a few days ago, where I did have this in the middle and I had a lot more empty space. But someone complained, they were like, the original intention of the box seemed to be that you could put these locations as well as the contacts associated with them, so that the contacts sort of act as dividers. So I could have like a contact here in front of 1, a contact here between 1 and 2, so on and so forth. People are totally right when they talk on the page. You would definitely need a new box to continue to be able to do that. If you put in the contacts in this tray alongside it, it completely flows over. There's absolutely no way to do it like that at present and keep things somewhat organized. I put the tower in here just because there actually ends up being a lot of empty space in this area that is hard to use otherwise. So I put the tower and a lot of like extra bits into this well. So here are the player's bits, all different player bits, and pit fighter tokens. We'll have some new tokens to add to that for growth and those other yellow tokens from the new expansion. This is just the bag. I keep the black cubes in the bag. Okay, so let's get the miniatures out of here first. So the miniatures are kind of a pain because I keep them in their trays. If you don't have them in their trays, if you have them somewhere else like displayed, this box is so much easier to put together. But let's suppose you keep it like I do and you keep them in their original trays. Then I have 2 on top and I have 3 to the left of the tower. And I have this guy on top because he fits here. It's fine. Here I have the tower. This tower is a bit of a pain. There's really no way to put it vertically. It's just too tall. So you have to put it down like this and stack things on top of it. It's always been that way, but now it's just in a different place. And then I have my scorecards, old score sheets, and new score sheets here. Okay, so this is the more interesting part. So these sit on top of the contacts, actually. So all three of these are very easy to take out. I think originally they came stacked, and it's actually super fiddly. Sometimes when I was taking them out, they would like fall over. It was hard to like pinch them the way they were. So I actually find this way of storing them much easier. And now those just come out. Now all of the location boards are just in order from 1 to 75 with the unique guilds from that asymmetrical expansion at the back. You can put them at the back or the front, whatever you prefer. And then over on this side is where I keep single player cards for voiceless guilds. First. The randomizer cards for random setup. I don't have these sleeves because it's a non-standard sleeve size and I just don't care very much about them getting chipped, but they would definitely fit even if they were sleeved. Then in the front is all of the cards that are in every game, the cards for each player, as well as I use a single sleeve to sleeve all of the extra advancement things because I have extra sleeves. And then some reference cards and such are in front. And then everything after that are the contacts in order. So this is all the contacts in order. That's why I've shoved this over like this. There's only one tray, and actually, if they added a tray for these, I would no longer, I'm not sure I would actually be able to fit everything in the box anymore. If they added another tray to put these in, it would add these two things as additional width. And I don't know if that would actually, that might make this too tight. Might work, might not. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not gonna say either way. What would be really helpful is now that obviously you can see, like this is too long combined to fit in a tray already, and adding 13 new locations is gonna be a definite no-go. But the way it's set up right now, like you can easily add 13 locations here and 13 contacts here. The only thing that I would say is kind of annoying is that because you've lost this ability to have everything compact together like this, I would appreciate if they would give us some dividers. So one way I've done it before, but I ended up stopped doing it, is I used old score sheets, folded them, and then put which numbers. So one thing you can do is if you want to make your own dividers, of course you can, and just put them in here and it will totally fit. Just make sure they go down roughly about that line. And this does make it faster to set up the game. I just find them kind of ugly, and if we could get some really nice higher quality dividers that were printed by them, that would be a really cool way to improve this box setup. But yeah, I think it's really not that much slower I draw, 57 from the randomizer deck. I find 57 here. Done. I find 57 here. What's that? That's 40. 50, 55, and 57. Right? So it's not super slow, it's not the fastest. It's a little harder to reach into here and grab the contacts. If you want, you can temporarily slide this over. It makes it easier to get stuff out and put stuff back in. But I definitely think this is the best way I've found to set it up. Other ways I had of setting it up had some cards going like different angles or lying down, and it's really hard to reference cards that way. It's really hard to get exactly what you're looking for. So I definitely have found this to be preferable. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure this is gonna be expansion proof, this way of putting it in. The contacts and locations will most certainly fit. I'm just gonna start putting everything away as I finish up. The new contacts and new locations will most certainly fit. It's actually the extra rule book that's gonna be the most painful to fit in here, because the thing I struggle with is vertical space. But I don't think, these smaller rule books, I don't think the vertical space the binding adds will be significant enough that the box won't go entirely flush. So I think it's still gonna be fine. Let's throw all of these chips down into the well, because there's lots and lots of space in here. And so yeah, I definitely don't want a bigger box. Honestly, if they start selling an extra box as an add-on, I'm probably just gonna skip it, mostly because I don't want to pay the extra shipping for a massive box, especially with the current shipping crisis. And I definitely don't want to take up more room on my shelf with the game because the game is pretty massive in the base box already. So I feel no pressing need to have a new box for this game. But to each their own. I'm sure others would like a solution that isn't such a hack job. But for me, as long as it doesn't overly slow down like setup and teardown, I don't really care. And as you see, since I know where things go, I've literally only put this away like twice with this new setup. But still, it goes pretty fast once you know where everything goes. Put this in. Put small rule books here. These are a bit tilted, which might cause an issue. Perfect. Put small rule books here. Big rule books in next. Then player boards. Then full board. And that is how it looks to put it away. Takes a pretty short amount of time. And yeah, I think that referencing the locations is super easy, and if you slide the locations over, it's pretty easy to take the contacts out as well. So yeah, not the most ideal thing ever, but it all fits. It doesn't take up 3 shelves yet, which I like, so I'll probably keep this box regardless of what they do with an extra box. And hopefully for those of you who are also short on space or don't want to buy an extra box, or if they don't even offer an extra box, hopefully this was helpful to you guys, especially as the expansion comes and stuff starts spilling over the sides for a lot of you. Thanks, and leave a like if this was helpful at all, or comments if you have any ideas of how I could improve it. Thanks, have a good one.